Hey guys, welcome back. This is Misal Mahajan, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification. So basically, this video is going to give you a roadmap on how to successfully secure uh, and pass the exam of the AWS Cloud Practitioner. So AWS Cloud Practitioners also has a course code of CLFC01. So let's dive right into the video. So first, we're going to be talking about who should take this exam. So basically, just reading off what AWS has provided us, AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner is intended for anyone who has a basic knowledge of AWS platform. Before taking this exam, we recommend you to have at least 6 months of exposure to AWS Cloud, basic understandings of IT services and their uses on the AWS cloud platform, and core knowledge of core AWS services like billings, pricing models, security concepts, etc. If you are someone who has completed the Azure Fundamentals or the GCP Fundamentals exam, I'm not quite sure what the GCP one called, but if you have completed any one of these two or both of them, or having good understanding about Azure or GCP, given this exam would be quite easy as you would just need to learn the new terms and how ways are done in the AWS cloud. So I wouldn't say if you are starting off with AWS as your first cloud provider, yes, about 6 months would be good or maybe less. And if you have already used Azure or GCP, about 1 month of learning about AWS is more than enough to give this examination. So let's move on. Coming to the exam overview, this is the level of the exam is foundational. So basically, this is the first step into AWS certification. This is the first exam every single person should take who wants to enter into the cloud and wants to certify themselves and also maybe appear for different certifications. Well, the length of exam is a 90 minutes exam. It costs you about 100 USD, $100. Again, if you are a student, you may get student discounts which reduce the price of 100. The format is 65 questions with either multiple choice or multiple response. For example, for multiple choice, I'm quite sure you all guys know about it. So A, B, C, D. For multiple choice, any one of these are correct. So for example, B. And for multiple response, you take maybe you have like A, B, C, D, A, E. Two or more options are correct. So maybe A and C is correct, maybe C, D, A is correct, or maybe any format. Delivery method is so AWS does not conduct the examination on their own. They have partnered up with a few companies, organizations to take care of it. So one of them is Pearson View and another is PSI. Again, for both of them, you can either go to their test centers and take the examination, or you can have an online proctored exam. If you ask my personal opinion, I would say go with Pearson View. And an online proctored exam is quite good as you can take it at the comfort of your home. Moving on, let's talk about the domains, basically of what all would be asked in the certification examination. So the first domain is your cloud concepts. Basically, this is the basics of cloud is what I can say. It holds a good weightage of 26%. Then you have your security and compliance. Of course, security and compliance is very important when it comes to cloud service provider, which again holds a good percentage, that is 25%. Coming to technology, this is basically your core AWS technology and services that AWS does provide, and it holds the maximum weightage percentage, that is 33%. And finally, you come to billing and pricing, which holds 16%. Again, as stated before, if you're someone who knows about Azure or GCP, the billing domain is pretty much the same, so you would need to focus more onto it. When it comes to the technology, of course, all the technologies do remain the same. A few things change here and there, and the major change I would say is just the naming conventions, and of course, security and cloud concepts do remain the same. Moving on to the next. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be diving deep into each of the domains. Not quite deep, but just give you an overall about what does come under. cloud concepts. So basically, the first thing that does come under cloud concepts is defining the benefits of AWS cloud, which basically includes things related to security, reliability, high availability, elasticity, agility, the pay-as-you-go pricing. Again, this is a pricing model. Scalability, global reach relates to the data centers they have across the world and economics of scale. Again, coming towards AWS cloud economics, they talk mostly about OpEx and CapEx. So OpEx is basically your operational expense, and CapEx is basically your capital expenses. So they talk about, how much it costs to, set up a data center on your own, and, what if you come over here to AWS and use AWS infrastructure for the same. Again, yes, they do cover some more things related to failures, parallelism, and stuff like that. Coming to domain two, which is your security and compliance. Again, one of the most important things I would say to cover in this topic is um, AWS has security responsibilities till a limit, and then after that limit, it is all the customer's responsibility. So making sure you know what this limit is quite important because normally they do ask questions. For example, a question could be asked like, um, so and so thing is whose responsibility? Is it AWS's responsibility or is it the customer's responsibility? So if you should be able to differentiate what is whose responsibility over here. And again, also they do have compliances related to HIPAA, SOX, and much more. And they do have different type of encryption options, like if you want to encrypt your data while transit, at rest, and much more. You can use Amazon CloudWatch config, and again, CloudTrail again, their services related to security and compliance. Again, another really important thing I would say in security is IAM. IAM, this is known as Access and Identity Management. Make sure you do study this quite well. Make sure you know what are groups, what are roles, the different policies that can be assigned, having custom policies, managed policies, and so much more. And one important thing that I would say do read when you're doing IMS is how to protect your root accounts. I've seen this question asked quite often that how should you protect your root account? So do make sure you do dive into that. Again, Amazon AWS does provide you various security support where you can go to the knowledge center, security center, maybe security forums, blogs, blah, 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 and you can do security checks using the AWS Trusted Advisor. Coming on to domain three, which is basic technology. As I said before, this consists of your core AWS offerings. So first, it basically tells you how do you want to use AWS. You want to access it through APIs, SDKs, maybe the console, CLI, whatsoever. You have different type of deployment models. It all depends on how you wish to deploy it. Could be you want to deploy everything in the cloud. Maybe you want to have a hybrid for the sense some parts are deployed on the AWS cloud and some are on your own prem or on premises, or you want to have a completely on premises duty. And how do you want to connect to the AWS cloud, be it through a VPN, through AWS Direct Connect, or the public internet? Talking about the AWS global infrastructure is basically about the various data centers that AWS has across the world. So basically, what are regions, what are availability zone, what are edge locations? Make sure you do read about these three quite well because some people do get a bit confused when it comes to availability zones. So do make sure that you read about availability zones quite well. Um, Again, because AWS in multiple regions, of course, they have low latency and, of course, disaster recovery plans and much more. And then you have, as I said before, edge location. So you have two ways. One is CloudFront, if I'm not wrong, CloudFront is their CDN, and then you have AWS Global Accelerator. Now, coming to the core services that Amazon does provide. So we're going to talk about first the compute services. Compute services basically consist of EC2 or maybe ECS or AWS Lambda. Basically, EC2 in simple terms is a virtual machine. Coming to Lambda, Lambda is basically functions, or you can say serverless computing. So Lambda is their serverless computing service that they provide, and ECS is their Amazon Elastic Container Service. Again, you also have auto scaling options provided in your compute services and also load balancers. Coming to the next core AWS offering, that is storage services. So the first that we have off is Amazon S3, which is their bucket storage service. You have ABS, that is block storage, S3 Glacier, which is again used for long-term storage, file storage if you want that too, and then you have your networking services. Out of networking services, the most easiest is your Amazon Route 53. This is basically used for purchasing of domains. Moving on, we finally come to the one of the final core offerings, that is database services. So they do provide, only three are listed here, but of course many more are available. So you have RDS, relational databases, DynamoDB, which is your NoSQL, and then you have your Redshift, which is basically your data warehouse. Finally, to end the third domain, we do have technology support. So they normally talk about the documentation. Do read documentations that Amazon does provide. You have various levels of support. So the first is your abuse. So in abuse, what basically happens is if you feel that your account is being abused or someone else's account is abusing AWS's infrastructure, you can go and give a complaint. Second is support cases, premium support and technical account managers. Do make sure the last three are paid options. So basically, you can raise a ticket. Sorry, you can raise a ticket and you can get help from directly AWS support technicians. Again, yeah, you also can use AWS Trusted Advisor for getting, identifying, and solving a lot of your issues. Coming to the last domain, which is billing and pricing. Again, as stated before, if you guys know maybe Azure or GCP, you can most likely skip this, but I would say just give it a glance. If you're new to cloud service providers, do give it a good glance and go through it. It basically most prominently talks about the pay as you go model. And this is one question that is again commonly asked in examination about the pricing model that AWS works on, and that is pay as you go. Now, do keep in mind AWS has various different pricing models, but the most important and the most famous one is pay as you go. Other scenarios are basically like you have on demand, you have reserved, you have flexibility, you have spot instances, and so much more. Um, Also, coming down, you have billing support. So as you can see over here, we have billing support. So you can use the Cost Explorer, AWS Cost Usage Report, and much more to basically get insights on basically how much you are spending and what are your future projections of your cost. Again, if you have any issues, you can simply open a support case, a billing support case, and someone from the team will get back to you and help you. And yeah, again, if you guys do before using an AWS service, if you want to know how much it would basically cost you, you can use the AWS simple monthly calculator where you can say that you want to basically an EC2 instance. Let's take you want one instance with maybe two cores, 4 GB RAM, two virtual cores, 4 GB RAM, or whatsoever, and it will basically tell you how much is your monthly cost. So, for example, maybe it's 29.99. I'm not quite sure. I'm just putting in some number. So it basically tells you so you can see how much it would cost. And you can also, another good thing is you can find alarms and alerts over here, basically. So you can put a limit that once you have, you put a limit that you want to, let's take your monthly spent limit is $100. You can put a limit saying that once you reach 80% spent, or you reach 80%, $80 for that month, send you an alert. So it will, of course, send you an alert. So that's about it for this video. So I provided you guys a whole AWS Cloud Practitioner roadmap. Hope you guys did like it. Again, this is just a roadmap telling you what all would be asked and what all come under what domains. If you guys did like this video, please make sure to leave a like, do subscribe, and comment down if there's any other concepts you would like me to cover. See you guys. Take care. Bye bye.